Welcome on back in, folks, to Valorant Challengers #1. We're going through the open qualifiers with Steez at this point, with our boys at NV taking a quick 2-0 over NRG. But now we get into Immortals versus Sentinels. The battle between the established Tier 1 squad of Sentinels, the team that made the deep run over at First Strike, facing up against the guys of Immortals, those who still have a whole lot to prove. My name is Upmind, joined here by my man Itzo, and let's talk about this matchup because you were the ones that really got to look at Immortals a little bit closely yesterday.
Well, and we got to look at Sentinels yesterday in their match against Andbox. And thing is, Sentinels, look, they are the Titans of North America. They are absolutely phenomenal in basically every situation that we put them in. However, you know, they're mortal. They struggled a little bit in, I believe, the round of 32, where they dropped the map. I can't exactly remember the team, but they are mortal. That being said, they have some incredible players on their roster, and yesterday they looked completely, you know, oh, you good with your hair, man?
Yeah, no, it looks like I have a
Gotta make sure it's all trimmed.
We're good.
But they looked really trained, really comfortable yesterday. And yes, these games are for seeding, but I think they're going to continue this sort of energy coming into today as well. For the top four, looking for that spot in the grand finals tomorrow. Two players I want you to immediately keep your eye on. It's going to be Sick and Sinatra. They were superstars yesterday. But we haven't really talked about the side of Immortals yet. I want to hear your initial thoughts before, you know, I go in and try to take over that conversation.
Yeah, no, looking through this lineup, it's really going to come down to Sick and actually Shazam. Those two were huge individual fraggers in the game that ended up giving Sentinels their spot into the close qualifiers and into the top 8. You had Sick being an absolute legend in terms of stats. If I'm not mistaken, he ended up nailing 40 to 50 plus kills in that
51 kills, I think.
51. Again, massive work from Sick, but even then you still have Sinatra that has been very consistent throughout the past few months with a 239 average combat score in the last 3 months. But still, Shazam, he's going to be playing up on the Duelist. He's mostly going to be playing up on Jet, and even then, still fragging out all over the place. One thing that I've realized with Shazam's play is he likes to play a little bit extra isolated. He likes to play pivot, a little bit more interactive off the post plans in comparison to really other Duelists. And even when you're talking about Immortals, Shut Up is really going to be someone that I really want to see step up today, because we've seen Gangsta in the past. Chemicals was a huge, I guess you could say a huge character yesterday, but for this team to succeed, I'm not just mentioning one player. You have to mention everyone. Chemicals had a big day yesterday. Nature is the new guy. And Immortals, to beat Sentinels, one of the best teams in North America, they all have to come out. And this map pool might just help them.
Well, Icebox was played yesterday by the two of these teams in their separate and their individual maps, their individual games, excuse me.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic for the two of them. One thing I want to point out, though, is that yesterday when Sentinels played this one against Andbox, Sick played Sova for the first time that I see in his career. And immediately after the game, he posted on Twitter saying something like, Sova is incredibly fun, and where has this agent been for all my life? So already, Sick is one of the most versatile players in North America, and his stock has gone way up once people really start to realize that, hey man, this guy is a nut on everything he plays. The fact that he's now brought Sova into his arsenal, he's like the third or fourth player who can play Sova at a very high level on Sentinels as well. I mean, it's just unreal. Sentinels are stacked with talent. But to pivot over to Immortals, they impressed me a ton yesterday because it was a phrase that Tanner used, controlled chaos, is that these guys, they're aggressive at just the right moments. They have mastered that sort of bursty style in their executes that I think a lot of teams struggle with. And in just that last match that we're doing, NRG was something that I wanted to see them do. Maybe I was just kind of thinking Immortals in the back of my mind. So Icebox is going to be incredible.
Icebox is going to be a big game for really both of these teams, because we haven't seen too many North American squads actually play up too much on Icebox. But Immortals still has only a few maps under their belt. They've won most of them. Still a 2-1 record in the last 3 months. Still with just about a 66% win record on this map. But Sentinels. I mean, although Icebox is so new to the scene, they've played it already 10 times, and they have a 70% win record on it, of course, winning 7 of them. So this first map is going to be a very good kind of taste test to see where these two teams are really at, especially with Sentinels only recently picking this up for a solid map pick. But you also go over towards the bans real quick, and Bind being banned for Sentinels, that is a massive, massive ban for them, because
Right.
it's their insta ban nowadays. They've only played it about 6 times in the last 3 months, and it still hasn't been all too comfortable. It's almost the same thing with the Boys of Immortals, still just trying to counteract what would be Sentinels, with Split being out of the picture, with Sentinels being one of the best teams in North America on that map with a 90% win record. But now looking down at the other maps, you still have what would be good chances for both sides. I still see Sentinels taking out this one in relatively close fashion, but Immortals, to me, this is a massive chance for them to step up, and honestly, the map pool has gone a little bit in their favor.
It has, but at the same time, you have to keep in mind that Sentinels, they're the best team in North America, and they are facing up against this kind of unknown quantity in Immortals. This is, I believe, their first, maybe second tournament with this new lineup with Chemicals and Nature in play. But Sean Gears recently on a podcast, can't exactly remember the name. It's not Plat Chat, but by the same people who did Plat Chat, Back Chat, that's what it's called. He was talking about the team that is really comfortable on Icebox is going to control the meta, because they will have such a versatile map pool and they can go basically anywhere and continue to dominate. And I think Sentinels have probably done that best so far. And look, they picked it, and they forced Immortals to ban Split, which is another map that's incredibly comfortable for Sentinels. You're talking about how maybe this map pick is pretty good for Immortals, but you also have to keep in mind, this is Sentinels that they're going to be up against. It's going to be an uphill battle either way, as surprising as they have been so far.
Yeah, and this is really a dynamic that happens with really any game that has a new map. The team that first masters that new map, that really has a good knowledge of it, they have
Right.
the power of the counter pick. They have the power to take away bans from the other team. So essentially one entire portion of the ban phase is essentially utilized against going completely against you. And because that map is so new in a sense, so much time has not really been wasted, but it has still been mastered to become a total threat against other teams.
Right.
Sentinels, they are more than comfortable in a sense with all of the other maps in the pool. So with them still maintaining themselves as only a one insta-ban team and still having that hard counter pick to really make opponents uncomfortable, those who really think they can face Sentinels on this map, they're in for a nasty surprise. And again, Immortals coming into this one and still have been maintaining the same agent comp throughout Icebox in the 3 games that they've played, but I want to see that change a little bit. Folks, let me emphasize this again. Yes, this is the open qualifiers going in for challengers #1 here for North America, but only the top 8 teams end up making their way into the closed qualifiers. We decided that 2 days ago. All of these teams now, they're fighting for seeding more than anything. And if I want to see a tier 1 team really switch up a little bit of their mentality or some of their play styles, this would be the tournament to do so. This is the stage to do so. Yes, some scrims would help you out, but Sentinels, this could also be their time to really switch things up, especially on maps like Haven, where they've maintained literally the same agent comp for the past 3 months. They played Haven 16 times and they haven't changed it at all. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I'm still willing to see a whole lot more changes for these teams, kind of like we saw NRG in the last set.
And Sentinels have already been doing that. Again, yesterday they brought out Sick on the Sova, so expanding everybody's agent pool by a little bit as well. We don't exactly have the picks and bans just yet, or the agent picks, I should say, not bans. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see Sick on the Sova once more, because pretty good track record from yesterday. Taking down Andbox is no easy feat. As crazy as that game 1 was, Sentinels ended that first half at 11-1, I believe it was. And I mean, that's dominance right there. It's really an uphill battle for Immortals, and I don't think I can stress that enough, because while Immortals have been impressing me, and I think impressing almost everybody by making a top 4 finish at the very least in this tournament, they still have one more juggernaut to take down. before we even, I guess, talk about the grand
Right.
finals, but then
Yeah.
potentially Envy. I mean, it's
Envy versus
it is a long
Sentinels,
road,
by the
man.
way, if we see that matchup, we've been waiting for a true top 3 NA battle. And we've been waiting for that since First Strike, really. Because really the games that we've seen between like potentially TSM Sentinels or TSM 100 Thieves since then have really been in a transition stage. Still, this tournament is going to be a little bit more experimental for both sides, but that one is going to be a true showcase of what would be two teams that are currently very much in a transition point and still very much trying to solidify their position in the North American region. But let's not take anything away from Immortals. What am I saying, right? When we talk about transitions, we need to talk about Immortals. This team just brought on 2 brand new players, 2 players with not a lot of really tier 2, tier 1 experience really at all. By the way, over on your screen, say hi to Reginald. Hi, Reginald.
Hi, Reginald.
Still Nature coming in from the Counter-Strike scene. He's been around the advanced to main level. That is a far cry from really the organizations and the stature that we see kind of this level of competition maintain. But Nature and Chemicals, they've still been able to really waltz into this position with Immortals and make their way into a top 4 position. I am very excited to see Immortals really try to show themselves, really try to show the scene what they've got. They are not going to be experimental with today at all. They're going to be as on point and as ready for an upset as possible. I'm ready for this one, Ito. And again, the teams that are still going through aging comp, and I think we do have a player that might be AFK, something of the sort. But Ito, this game is going to be fun, and I can't wait.
Well, one thing I have to mention as well, man, is that you're talking about how Nature came from CS, but Nature as well as Chemicals were both on the same team together before joining Immortals. They were on this team called SOAR, S-O-R, and they played completely different roles, though. Chemicals was actually a Sentinel player, and Nature, I think, played mainly Duelist. I'd have to go ahead and double-check that. So not only are these new players for Immortals, not only is this their first foray into the top of North America, but they're also on new agents, and they have been absolutely fantastic so far. We are going to be seeing a bit more of a interesting comp again from Sentinels. I have to bring out the fact that Sick is so new at Sova, and yet he looks right at home on it. I mean, you just have to think about how incredible that is, that this guy has played, what is it now, 6 agents at the top of NA? Like, obviously one of the most versatile players, but my God, just think about like the stonks for him. They're going way up, man. It's
going
unreal
way
to
up
think about.
as being a versatile player, but imagine if he was a free agent, right? I mean, that would be
Oh,
that would
Lord.
be a totally different story. He would probably be the most requested free agent out there. But in terms of Sova, I think he played it 2 maps yesterday, right? Am I not mistaken?
Yes.
Okay, so
On Icebox and Haven, I think.
if I'm not mistaken, it was Icebox and Split, maybe?
He played Sova on Split? Oh my God, if there's actually a way, I forgot that.
I was
That'd
just
be
asking.
ridiculous.
I was just asking because Split was played yesterday, but no. Sick has played Sova before, yes, but he only played it like literally once. He played it once before, and pulling it out yesterday on Icebox, a big change for him. We weren't able to see really the agent selects, but we could see a little bit of a glimpse of it. As Sentinels, it's not exactly surprising. Same thing with Immortals. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for waiting. Thank you so much for hearing us vamp, because now we're finally into the second semifinals between Immortals and Sentinels. Immortals, they're looking for the upset. Sentinels, they want to maintain their spot in top 3 NA.
They want that heavy seeding if they possibly can, and it begins with a bang, not a whimper, that's for sure. We've already traded blows back and forth as Immortals have lost now Chemicals, a player that I was hyping up so much. But, you know, at the same time, it's a little bit rough for Sentinels because they have lost now Raze. And obviously Sinatra is an absolute masterclass. He just shows everybody have to do it in a textbook fashion. Now Dapper has been taken out for good measure, and Sentinels, they're being knocked down a couple of pegs as they're looking to push towards A.
Shazam still around the corner waiting for players to try to rotate it, but instead, both Nature and JC Stanny, who are waiting up on the A site, they end up getting exposed. So there you go. Sentinels now left with only a singular person still sick. and he has a whole lot of routes to go through. Still, the B side is going to be fully his. So welcome to the Sova show. I want to see if he has any cheeky lineups or anything of the sort, but we're not going to see too much of that going into this round. Instead, he has to hold on to his guns, hold on to his britches, because this one is going to be quite entertaining. Still the 2v1. I think Gangsta is the only one with a low HP, but
he has a dart.
Does have the dart, does have at least recon, and ooh, okay, at least just a far one. That was just a straight shot, no bounce, nothing of the sort. Still fairly simple, but in we go. He's about to get revealed by that potentially. No, he's not. He's right behind the wall and just waiting up with the owl drone at the perfect time too. Well done. In they go. Still the defuse going down for shot up, and Sick can't get the headshot in the end. If there's anything that Sick can do, it's absolutely aim. This guy has been an absolute demon in terms of fragging, but Immortals, they still counteract at the end of things. Shot up takes it back, and although we did have an interesting play at the very middle with both JC Standing and Nature going down, Sentinels, they get knocked down a peg. It's 1-0 for Immortals early on Icebox.
But this is something I think you're going to be seeing repeating a lot in this series. Going down to the wire, Sick gave that a really good chance for himself to win, but was Shot Up who closed things out. You're talking about people who know how to aim. Shot Up is no exception either. He was a superstar yesterday in their series. And hey, off to a good start. 3 kills in the pistol is a beautiful look for you. Sentinels will quickly begin with another execute towards A with only pistols to show for it. They're going to really try to burst up as soon as possible. And I think Shot Up, well, this could be a bit of a disastrous position. He's going to need to lurk in these dark covers and hit a couple of bangers with that Stinger. Ooh. Maybe be bailed out.
Might actually be bailed out because Shot Up, if anything, he can just force up in the smoke and just wait for that first contact, and indeed he did. Oh, what a flick from Shot Up! Okay.
He knows how to aim.
This guy's nuts. He's going for the 4th, of course. He didn't need to get bailed out. Shot Up's just an absolute legend. 2-0 start for Immortals. Not a singular one of those SMGs going down, so this is as much of a bonus round as you can get here, Ito.
It's a good luck for Immortals to start out in such a clean fashion like that. Shot Up already at 7-0, but yeah, his first challenge really comes now because, well, he does still have the Stinger in play, and that is a crazy weapon as we saw right there. It's not going to be nearly as easy to do it against Phantoms and Vandals that, well, will inevitably be in play. I'm wondering what Sentinel's approach is going to be here, because it seems that once again they want to do this A burst. They toss out a smoke to try to stave off maybe an inevitable push from Immortals, but they're not respecting it. Look at this on your radar. They're already pushing through, and they pit Shot Up, just hold down tubes. Uncontested so far. You're going to see the stack now gamble towards A. Great paranoia too.
Yeah.
This is big for Immortals. So much info.
Yeah, so much info for Immortals, but even then Sentinels, it's just a light pressure. We saw Paranoia go back, but this Aldrin should be able to at least garner at least some of the spots. But again, like you mentioned, the gamble rotate coming in from Immortals is going to be heavily in their favor. Sentinels really does want to commit to this purely because of the positions that we see, especially from Shot Up. There you go. He gets that first frag. No way he doesn't get traded, right? You think, but the dismiss gets him out of there. Almost gets himself the second, but Zombs is going absolutely nuts, and Sick is there to return the frag back. Sentinels against Immortals, his best chance to really rack on a couple of rounds. They're knocking them down to only 2 players remaining. Again, they can't exactly do much. They're still peeking around the corner. That's, well, that turret with Sinatra at an extreme off angle. Can't do much with it. Gangsta now in a 1v4. His goal now were to be, I guess, a couple of exits, but I think everyone from Sentinels might just be running in a little bit. But they fully spot this one out. Good headshot from Gangsta. He's chilling out, though.
He does have a dart.
He's literally in that same position. Yeah.
Jesus. Okay.
Could do a little bit more, but yeah, that was a weird one. It was a bonus, though, so they're going to fully reinvest in the next round anyways. Yeah, nothing to lose.
Started out on a good note for them, though. You cannot deny that. Shot Up being able to get away with murder there, at least for a little while, but forcefully traded out. Sentinels push their advantage and push it into a round win for them. And they're starting to get close to some of those big ultimates. Obviously, Sick has his Hunter's Fury, as you see on your scoreboard right there, but the Bladestorm nearly available for Shazam, and we're a couple of points off from Sinatra being able to pick up the Showstopper as well. All of those are great engines to try to make a push happen with, plus a little bit of security in case you lose this round right here. So this is pretty pivotal for Immortals just in the early game. So obviously they're going to be trying to chase down this opening pick. Chemicals Misses a shot though, and Sentinels look at their response now. They're kind of spreading their wings a little bit wider here, as actually the first kill does come through, but that's onto Shazam over towards A. This is bad news bears for Sentinels.
Okay.
Or is it?
I guess so, but I guess look at this off-angle position from Sinatra. Just as the smoke dissipates, he had a great angle. But because of that position from Sinatra, Sick, who wasn't spotted at all, just inadvertently gets peeked on by Chemicals. I mean, you hate to see it, honestly, but Chemicals, we take those. He's going to be able to get himself an early kill onto Sentinels. But not only that, he can continue his scoreline. Nobody's pressuring him out in this corner. Just a nade in the back lines, he doesn't care. He's down at 87 HP. He still has more than enough. With 35 seconds left, Sentinels, they don't go at a fast pace at all. They get picked down over towards the A site. Yet another early one from Chemicals as he has full control. But now Zoms could potentially get something done. But oh my lord, shot up. That man's a legend. 20 seconds left. Sinatra almost literally cannot do anything with his control, but can't exactly get a plant. I thought Shot Up was going to be able to get it, but instead now Sinatra, he could try to go nuts. Does have the showstopper back, but JC Stanny, an even better shot than what we saw earlier from Shot Up, because Sinatra just went down like a clay pigeon.
And that's a great round for Immortals as well. We didn't exactly see that frag that happened onto Shazam because it was completely unexpected. That man got killed basically outside of spawn. He was just barely up towards those rafters on A, or not the rafters, excuse me, the pipes towards A. He went down immediately, and that kind of threw a wrench into everything Sentinels were working for there. They still tried to stick to it a little bit by keeping Zoms there as kind of this late lurk, but obviously not getting anything out of it because it was such a nice hard clear from Shot Up. Really patient, disciplined from Immortals. Will net them a third round here, and yeah, there it is. Clay pigeon shooting for them. And Immortals moving up to 3 and looking really good while doing it. Sentinels still have a bit of money in their arsenal. You're probably going to be seeing Shazam pop that Blade Storm sooner rather than later because he only has a Stinger in play. There it is, right on cue. Now, what I'm hoping here is that we see something that Immortals did a lot yesterday, where they cut noise as long as they can and try to burst up A. And Shot Up might want to take the fight to them. This is so scary.
It's so scary for the boys of Sentinels, but Shot Up, he's more than confident. Still has so many angles to actually look at as he's still in a two-man setup, with his teammate actually being fairly conservative on sights.
He heard that.
He certainly did, but against Sentinels, they've always been in that back line anyways, and Shot Up knows this. Just so happens to be that he has such a great opportunity, but Sinatra takes him down immediately. Shot Up misses his first opportunity for the frag, and what I said before with the confidence, that seeped away. Still Immortals with a man advantage. Gangsta takes it back, and JC Stanny, beautiful position. Gonna be able to take that one. Still through the smoke, can't get it, but he readjusts for the third.
That's huge.
Huge for JC Stanny. Gangsta takes it back. Sentinels, right as they started to get a couple of wins under their belts, well, it's just going to be Immortals back on the win sheet and the win tally. And Sentinels is back to pistols now, Ito.
Back to pistols in such a harsh fashion to lose it in as well, because that went a little bit better for them. All things considered, they managed to stay alive, keep all their players, all their ducks lined up in a row, and they actually did have, it was Sick lurking over towards B. I think he used his drone early on to look for some info, but it was a very standard default for them. Just an incredible burst of action. JC Stanny was in a beautiful position, and since they ran down the clock so much, Sentinels couldn't exactly afford to clear all those angles as hard as they normally would. So this is the natural conclusion. Sentinels will up the pace. They have the ultimates if they get that spike down, and that'll make things a lot more palatable. So look for that spike to go down ASAP.
And
actually right on cue, there it is.
Yeah, there you go. Zom just rushes his way on site, but still JC Stanny's been in his position for a while. Sinatra was about to go down, but JC Stanny couldn't take him down, so even then, the showstopper hits. Shazam still gets a kill back onto Nature. That was a little bit off-angly. But even then, Chemicals on the front lines still has at least the up-out, the right clicks, but the classic doesn't work out in this favor. But Shut Up with both players and off angles. The Hunter's Fury going in, still down a half. Sick might be in such a tricky scenario now. And even with that next click, the defuse will go in. That is so unfortunate, as Sentinels early on, they had so much map control in a sense. They had so much site control. They still had players over towards the back lines, but I think in the middle of the chaos, still trying to take down Immortals really on their way into site, especially over towards main, there were players coming up from stairs area, just essentially slipping their way by, and Sentinels, they couldn't really keep track of things. By that time ended up going by. Immortals, they still had what would be great pivots, and Sentinels in off positions, they ended up getting exposed, and that gives Immortals a 5th round. Sentinels could have definitely pulled off the eco. I mean, that was more than theirs, but still now with the rifles back and Immortals with their economy a little bit more damaged, there could be a massive opportunity. But Gangsta actually shuts down Dapper early. That's a big frag, but Shazam gets one back too. It's a 4v4 now, Ito.
Sentinels made that one incredibly close for what they had to work with. They blew a couple of ultimates for it. They don't have the Hunter Sphere as well as the Showstopper in play. And if Immortals get that Killjoy lockdown up pretty soon, that could be a tool that otherwise not wasted, but it could have been used to take down the lockdown. I mean, really, the stocks for that lockdown become way more valuable. So look for that to try to come into play soon. But for now, like you said, they've stayed even so far. I think perhaps the best move for them to be, or would be, sending it B like they are right now, but keep an eye on Zombs. That late lurk, I think, is going to be absolutely round-changing. He's not even going to be in that position. He's just going to help out for the fight. Toss out of smoke. It's going to be a really one-track-minded sort of push. It doesn't seem to actually hurt Sentinels anymore, though. They find the opening kill. They're fine with it anyway.
Like I said, Shazam, he takes up so much space in such little time. He's more interactive in a sense that you would expect off of swings, and he definitely proves it. Still going for that first contact, clearing up more line of sights, as now Sentinels, they're still running out of time to actually get that plant down with, again, the Nano Swarm just chipping away so much damage. Still Gangsta in the back lines, and wow, Shazam! The 1-2 combo, but Shadow shuts it down! No time! 29 seconds left! He needs to run! But Shazam shuts it down with milliseconds left in the clock! The ace from the absolute legend. Again, Shazam, he will not stop holding W. He will not stop shooting at bodies, as Immortals, they have no chance against this guy.
And if that last round wasn't close enough, this one is even closer. Only this time, Sentinels win, and they look beautiful because of it. Another round in their favor. An amazing highlight play from Shazam. You can't wish for anything more. This is VALORANT at its best. And Immortals left a little bit shocked after that one. They will continue to fight, will continue to buy, and they're going for the same setup that they've done previously, only this time Sentinels have learned from their mistakes. That lockdown that I mentioned previously isn't going to be in play for this round either, but look about a lockdown that is in play. Going to be used from Sentinels. That's going to be their engine to push. Or is it?
Again, that takes up so much line of sight, and well, indeed they are. It just so happens to be that Spike is back in their spawn. Immortals has made that full rotate now here, Ito, because Lord, look how much control Sentinels actually has. But Immortals, they could explode at any moment. Chemicals literally dashes away in what might have been line of sight for the boys of Sentinels, but no one's able to catch him. But it's dead now. Shazam with more opportunities for frags. The double peek, well coordinated. But now in comes the hold. Dapper on the front line takes that one. Still Sinatra. Chemicals in the smoke. Chemicals is literally the last man remaining with no HP. And Sentinels, off of that lockdown, I thought that Immortals were about to explode on that site. Everyone had rotated. Everyone was behind that circle. Immortals, they have proven themselves as a great retaking team, especially in this game thus far. But Sentinels, with such good off angles in a sense, and a little bit more of a desperate mindset, or a mindset for Immortals, they ended up falling right into crosshairs, right into crossfires. And well, Sentinels, they have themselves a 3rd round. And this one would kind of be a nail in the coffin for the economy of Immortals because, I mean, they're about to get resets. Sentinels can tie this game up with this round alone.
They just might do it. Although it's not off to the cleanest start for them. Sentinels have shown an incredible amount of resilience. That lockdown was so huge for a number of reasons, something I'll have to touch on later because I think it's not going to be something that's limited to that one round only. Sentinels, although they've dropped the player, they've quickly evened things up here, and this is why I wasn't worried. The resilience from Sentinels is so absurd. They've not only eked out one more kill, but had a chance to get another one too. Now JC Stanny's threatening that plant from potentially going down. Shazam doesn't have his teammates back covered, and that's actually really gonna hurt. They do get the spike planted, which is great news, and Shazam does hit a banger, but it'll still all come down to Sinatra to hold the line. It's not gonna work out, so everything that I was praising for Sentinels in the past doesn't seem to come to fruition right here. But the reason why that happened is because Immortals were in just such perfect positions to trade each other out. And despite originally it was Nature who got caught off guard from his position, JC Stanny was more than eager to step up, take the reins, and completely shift that round around. Immortals, they'll extend their lead even further.
They look to do so, and it's more or less the same position as I placed really Immortals in the last round.
Right.
Sentinels, they're the ones now down on the economy, but you have to look over towards Shazam now. Shazam, I can't believe that he's actually going for this op pick, but there's a reason why, right? He's actually so confident on that Scopes rifle thus far, and I don't doubt him at this point. Although his economy goes down incredibly low, he has nothing to lose and all the frags to gain. He gets himself one back onto Shut Up, and even then, Sentinels off that first pick, they're still looking to go quick. JC Stanny with the teleport back, although he is getting pinged out. 8 HP, and this man has almost no chance. That nade catches him off, and now, still, Immortals over towards the back of site. The rotation has been fully made. No ultimates at this point, because here's the thing. Sentinels still has full control of this site, but they're playing so aggressively, Ito. How is this working out for the boys of Immortals? But Dapper, he's going to be able to get Chemicals, who tried to get a little bit spicy with the op. And even then, Nature now in a 1v2, going to be able to catch one. Still one up top. Shazam, he won out at least one of these rounds with a clutch. He could do it again. But Nature, good call out. And Shazam gets taken down. Immortals, I mean, at least carried out at the very end by Nature. This man has at least some sort of clutch gene.
Mate, that was his first kills of the game. That was huge for the morality, if nothing else. The fact that the first time he comes online to build up that lockdown, to finally, you know, up your ego a tiny bit, is a clutch against the best team in the world, or the best in North America. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
Man.
But Immortals are looking phenomenal right now. They're close to nearly having 5 ultimates in play. This round is about to get insanely messy. And if not this round, the next one, because that's the final one of the half.
He's an impact fragger. Impact fragger. I mean, you can't really say anything else than that, right? 2 kills, and they lead into a clutch.
That's an impact frag.
But, well, Sentinels, they're still targeting the A side here, Ito, but with the Killjoy ulti, with the lockdown going in and the fast rotations from Immortals starting to stack up once again, this could start to get a little bit messy. As Sentinels, they're still making up space a little bit, but Immortals, they're fighting back. Lockdown be lockdown, though. The spike could still go down easily.
And that's such a threatening lockdown too. They have to respect it, but they do get the spike down. This is where Sentinels want to be. These are the optimal post-plant positions for them, completely out of range for the lockdown, so it didn't really accomplish all too much at the end of the day. There is going to be that shock darts pulled out, which will allow Nature to pick up the first frag, but he's traded out quickly by no one else but Sinatra, who finishes it off with style. A close-range rocket makes Sabrosa sweat. Sentinels, they take number 4.
And again, an explosion over towards site, but Sentinels, again, remember the last time that they had the lockdown over towards that site, it was very much more contested by...
It was a funnel.
Exactly. It was very much contested for Sentinels in one exact position. But instead now, they do spread out their attention a little bit more. Immortals, they actually end up stretching out into the circle a little bit more than we expected, especially that late on. And Sentinels, they were more than ready for it. Again, just well done. As now Sentinels...
That's good by Chemicals.
I mean, that's great by Chemicals, but he had such a good spot early on to potentially get himself a frag to open up that B main area. But again, Sentinels, they're just playing this play-by-play. And already with 120 left in the round, you have 3 players going down as Zombs takes down JC Stanny.
They do have some pretty powerful ultimates, though. That Hunter's Fury, I'm wondering if we're going to be seeing it used to try to deny plant. Or, I mean, there's so many ways to use this Hunter's Fury. It's impossible to track down the one that they're going to try to go with. Ultimate use for info is also important to mention. Sentinels, they don't even seem fully dedicated to this idea of going B, but now after getting that amazing kill from Shada, I think they've become a little bit more convinced. Hunter's Fury will indeed come through, not to deny plant, but just to deny them space. But it's not going to work. Shock Dart will go out. This one actually to deny the plant. But it's a 1v4 that Gangsta will have to pull off. And I'm pretty sure here that we're looking at 7-5. We're definitely looking at 7-5.
Yeah, no, it's
wow.
done right.
Jeez.
Well, that's the halfway line.
Util, dude.
I can't. I honestly can't fathom some of the rounds that Sentinels were actually able to win, because Immortals, although it is more or less expected nowadays on Icebox, I think because we didn't have the camera all too much on the players rotating from the B sites, one thing that I've been really impressed with has just been how fast Immortals have been able to fight back against Sentinels, really off of the, what would be the first pick. Once one pixel gets spotted for Sentinels, or I'm sorry, for Immortals, that rotation comes in a flash. But sometimes that goes completely against them, because Immortals, in that play at least, they scatter themselves up. That's the 1-to-1 Shazam. Just get an easy frags. He's eating good today with a high frag score. But even then, Sentinels still at 5 rounds. If they get this one out, it's essentially going to be a tie score. But Immortals now on the attacking side, they're going to take a page out of the Immortals. Sentinels book. They're approaching the A site. Fast rotations are going to come in for Sentinels too. There's too close.
They always burst up like this. They did this so many times yesterday where I'm going to call it the Immortals. I know you were thinking about maybe the Sentinels playbook, but right now all I can keep my eye on is the fact that there's a Sheriff in play, and they'll be taken out before there's actually any use. Immortals, they're just stomping, man. This is exactly like yesterday. Such a clean execute from the Immortal side.
And again, let me remind you, it's rare to see Sentinels even lose out on this map, although again, it is very much new. Sentinels has been really the one team in North America to really maintain this map in their map pool. I mean, this is their map pick. They picked it. Yeah. They picked it. I mean, it's such a rarity to see this map getting picked by anyone, and they still had full confidence that they could take this forward as a counter pick throughout this entire tournament. Immortals, they're really waking up Sentinels to what might be a little bit more of a scrappier pick. Maybe they shouldn't have picked Icebox. Maybe they should have done a little bit more studying, but that's the thing right here, Itzo. What is there to study on Immortals? This team is almost completely brand new. If we saw another organization other than Immortals with this lineup, I wouldn't doubt it. I would have been like, all right, couple free agents, you put them on a pug squad, and it just works out. It just so happens that this lineup right here, right now, they ended up picking up a map pool in such a short amount of time, and it's succeeding against one of the best teams in North America. Let's not speak in absolutes though, because Sentinels, they still have a huge chance in their hands, but they really need to counteract this B rotate, because there's really only one man here.
He's one hell of a player, but being able to hold it down alone doesn't exactly seem too likely with only a pistol in tow. He'll respect the decision, give it up entirely, and Sentinels have now come to try to back up his teammate, but Dapper is in such just a far-off, isolated position where it's just a matter of time before he gets overwhelmed. This is Immortals now trying to extend for as much control as they can. They've already gotten the spike down. Go for a little bit more. You have absolutely zero reason not to. They farm frags, and the round is over in a burst. Immortals, they're so close to double digits, and although Sentinels do have a buy in hand, Immortals have been scary even with the guns that they currently have. Those Stingers, the Spectre, as well as the Bulldog. Look, man, obviously I'm going to have to favor Sentinels for it because the artillery diff alone is scary, but Immortals have been really impressing me so far from both yesterday into today as well. It didn't seem like just a fluke yesterday.
No, it didn't seem like it, because again, I don't know what to think with this Immortal squad, especially coming into this tournament. I expected to see TSM. I expected to see 100 Thieves in this position. Neither one of them made it into the closed qualifier. So instead now someone has to step up, right? Someone has to step up, and his name is Shot Up. Wonderfully done. He just zooms his way forward. And Sentinels, in this round, Itzo had the full rifles, and they're just getting exposed now. Shot Up with a massive opportunity, but he ends up not resetting his spray really on time to counteract Dapper's swing. Sinatra, what on earth was that peak? How high is his sensitivity? Still a 3-on-3 though. Nature, he's gonna be the one to really get that first contact. Huge. And indeed he does. Not only that, but JC Stanley is here to help out. Dapper now, 1v3. He puts it down to a 1v1, but Nature is there once again. Like I said, impact frags only. This man is huge. That's the bonus taking by Immortals. And who knows at this point, we might see Immortals take off a map off of Sentinels.
It wouldn't be the craziest storyline that we've seen so far this event, but it would definitely be a crazy wake-up call for Sentinels. Again, they picked this map, and yes, we can always talk back to how this is about seeding when it all comes down to it, but Immortals, the way they have been playing, I mean, this is great practice for them, if nothing else. They might snatch away a 1 or number 2 seed. I mean, right now, they are looking phenomenal. But again, zoom out a little bit. This map isn't done yet. Sentinels have incredible mental fortitude. Like I mentioned, they have not exactly the best guns to work with, but they have something. They have a stinger in play from Dapper, who was massive last round. Couldn't quite clutch up a 1v3. But as Immortals now shift their focus over to the other side of the map, things become a little bit more possible. Or does it? There's Chemicals. You completely shut me up.
There you go. So Sentinels, they had something at least going for them. At least in terms of the pivot, right? They had the right position outside of that B site, and they were ready for Immortals to go take. But with the double back, they do the exact same thing. Good call out from Sentinels. I mean, this is the hardest of reads, but oh, that Hunter's Fear would have had to be big. But there you go. Dapper, he's been ready for this fight for a while.
No way.
Huge shot again. The headshot's coming swinging, but Shut Up somehow is still alive. He's trying to shut down the Killjoy, and indeed he will. The lockdown goes down, but even then, Shut Up still has a 1v1. It was pure chaos for a couple of seconds there. And with that flick, one bullet would have done it for Sinatra. And Immortals, they clean up the eco round. So again, I might have had to bite my words there for a second, but again, you got to give it to Sentinels because they still have what would be that gambly mindset, especially in that eco round, and they made the right reads. They made the right pushes. And Dapper, the player that was on the hero rifle going into that round, he absolutely utilized it. Maybe not to the absolute success, but still had the opportunities to frag out. So Sentinels, they're given more opportunities than I would think. And looking like a couple of buddies at this point. Immortals and Sentinels, they look like really clones of each other in terms of the strat book.
Hell of a scary team. A new look for Immortals, seems to be a beautiful look on them. Sentinels, they fight back as they just immediately take down the lockdown. Par for the course so far, Immortals, they've been no strangers to taking things a bit slower here, but usually it's been a fake towards A and then they execute B. And it seems at least a bit similar, but now they've kept one player over towards mid. Keep an eye on him, because he could definitely be perhaps the pincer that Immortals are looking for to snatch away this round as well. Shot Up, bleeding internally, gets out alive. And there it is, JC Stanley, actually, his position gets compromised. Zoms beats him out in Omen Supremacy. And we have a pretty awkward situation on our hands. Let's be real here, Upmind, because Immortals, they've had pretty decent mid-round calls before, but they've never been in this sort of situation this late in the round where it's 4v5. Only a couple players from Sentinels hurting on top of it. The first challenge they faced.
30 seconds left.
One of the first.
One of the first at least, but still Sentinels. I did say before that they've been good at reading out these situations, but now Immortals has a little bit more comfortable of a take. With just about 14 seconds left, the plant will be able to go down, and it's going to be essentially a full retake now for the Sentinel squad. Not essentially, but absolutely speaking. So Chemicals, he should have gotten that second kill.
They have numbers.
1000%, but even then, Sentinels still trying to make their way through. Oh boy, 3 over towards the top area. Shazam's going to be able to get the kill back.
Here.
Slow and steady now, Ito. The plant will eventually getting defused, but there you go.
No.
The nano swarm ends up going off, but now there's only one person remaining in that smoke. Shazam just goes in with the right clicks. It's all too easy. Again, it almost seemed too methodical from Sentinels. As Immortals, again, they all wanted to maintain in that close-up scenario because not too much util was actually into that round. The only person that really had anything going into it was Nature, and he had a good post plant for it. Otherwise, the Immortals team, they really need to be more crowded around that site. They needed to fight Sentinels off of that initial push out of the main area coming out from the mid side. But still nothing of the sort. They wanted to at least take on the 1v1s, but Sentinels didn't make that possible. They isolated them back over towards the mid side of the site, and just like that, that's going to be the round.
I mean, Shazam was undoubtedly the MVP of that round. Obviously, first just finding the 3 kills to end it all, but right now he was in this position late into the round too, holding down Rafters. He made it impossible for them to actually contest his position and even up the numbers, which is absolutely what Immortals needed. And I think he actually spots shot up climbing through those ropes, but he has to once again concede space. This is just par for the course again for Sentinels. They're gonna concede and allow this retake to happen naturally, and it's up to Immortals to try to innovate. Sentinels do it better, don't they? 3 kills already.
Right, we saw the Ares back, right?
Wow.
A little bit of spice, a little bit of variety, but is it really that much variety when we're seeing yet another win from Sentinels potentially? Nature, like I said before, very much impacts fragging, but he's actually made his way back. He's almost near double digits at this point, catching up with the rest of the team. But Gangsta now, last minute remaining on a 1v4, can't really take things up. It's 11-7. As now Sentinels, they're going to take on what would be yet another eco from the boys of Immortals. Sentinels, I said that Immortals did have that chance to really make their way back, but this Sentinels team, they finally seem to be a little bit more cutthroat.
You can't ever count them out. This is why I was always talking that, you know, we can't speak in those absolutes. Sentinels have amazing mental fortitude, and, you know, sure, maybe the stakes of this game aren't as high as they normally are, but they still are going to be trying to bring out their discipline best. And it's really, really kind of showing up to Immortals right now. They look a little bit genuinely confused. This is the first time that pretty much all tournament their execute has been shut down. And talk about a flashy way to shut them down too. Zombs finds 2. At least Immortals get that spike plant down. But how much further are they even going to get from here?
They need more space, but literally Sinatra isn't allowing it. Still with the showstopper. I mean, dude. He had to find something. He was still looking around for someone there. And,
like,
yeah, no, he got it back. That was as easy as you can get for Sentinels anyways. But a plant for Immortals, yeah, it did help them out in a sense. They did everything they could to even get it down. But Sentinels with good early control of sight, that was really the thing that made it happen. So Immortals back on the rifles. Can they fight back? Because at least looking down their line, their ultimates are barely charged up at this point, so there's not going to be too many wild cards going into it. And Sentinels too, still maintaining full control of these sites, and they're still going for a little bit more of a pinch, like this lineup for Gangsta though. He's all the way back in their spawn. This one's interesting. Where's this one going? It's back
I want
over
to see
towards
a
the
fight
B
for
side.
orbs here too, but yeah, let's see where the start ends up.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's gonna be a shock for Back Kitchen. Maybe it felt a bit preemptive.
No way.
Because Shazam is going to be able to easily bounce around it. Of course.
Okay.
That's Sentinels. The innovators, man. Unbelievable.
Yeah, the innovators.
Well, never mind.
Always finding different ways to die.
I was going to say that.
That's just brutal. That's just it's a little bit too insulting, but in we go. Sentinels, no, they've been definitely on the front lines of the last couple of rounds and can't really say much about it. If anything, it's just mounting so much pressure on this Immortals team to just make these takes so much quicker. And again, that's what ended up isolating their players, at least early on in this round. Shazam still taking down
so
Nature.
Good.
There was another person rotating back. And with 50 seconds left, Immortals have no control.
No control, and not even the players to try to get back that control. It seems that they want to finish up towards A here, but when they even get that spike down, their options remain pretty scarce. They have the recon dart off of cooldown at this point, and they're probably going to try to toss the spike over to their jet because that way you can get another point closer to their ultimate, but that's not even going to be the thing that's on your mind, building up those ultimates. It's how can we even up these numbers? They've cut noise once more. Again, the Immortals Classic, but time is of the essence. They need to move, and they need to move right now. It's not going to be possible. Sentinels are more than ready. They rotated before they even entered towards A main, and it'll be over in a flash. Sentinels now on 9 rounds are knocking on the door of double digits, and they haven't had any answers. Immortals, they had made this such a one-sided game, it felt like at some points, but this is why you never count them out. 4 in a row for Sentinels. Their money is booming. They're nearly hitting the cap on some of these players. Meanwhile, Immortals are on the other end of things. They're barely scraping by here. Their ultimates are in a little bit of a crappy place. JC Stanley doesn't have that the From the Shadows coming up anytime soon, and same story with the Bladestorm for Chemicals, so that's a potential weapon out of the picture. But at least that lockdown is something they can look forward to relatively soon.
Let's wait up for the actual take, though, because still Sentinels getting more and more desperate. They're going to try different things. They all boost their way over towards mid.
Wait a second.
Okay, actually shot up, taking down Sick.
Way.
And the Stingers, they're starting to work. Again, Immortals with an absolute curveball, still taking over mid. No one even going over towards bathrooms.
No,
and instead, the Stingers, they're all just working out in their favor. Shut up! All alone!
It's flawless!
It's a flawless eco round from Immortals. Hey, throw everything out the window. Whatever notes we have, whatever we've said this far in this game, none of it matters. Immortals somehow able to make their way back into not only this game, but that round was flawless. It's literally what it was. Absolutely perfect. Everyone from Immortals, they just grouped around one singular position. When was the last time we've actually seen Immortals do that? I mean, not once. They've tried to stay in more defaulty positions, maintain lurks, but now the one round that they take an off angle or an off route, it works out. And it's just exactly the one to get at least 12, maybe overtime in the near future, or potentially the map win.
Their ultimates are starting to stack up as well. Feel free to blow them all you want, Immortals. You've earned this one here. Hunter's Fury used, maybe a zoning ult if nothing else. Ooh. And that'll be the punishment that we've been looking for from Sentinels. Sick gets the opener. Look at what happens next here, Immortals. This is usually when they kind of calm down the pace a little bit. What I think they're going to do here is completely cut noise, hide as much as they can, and then re-exec A. Because this is usually the sign where Immortals start bringing it over towards B. And look, the rotations are already coming in effect. Sentinels, they fell for this one hook, line, and sinker. A little bit more time off the clock, and Immortals should have this site for basically free. This is so well played by Immortals. Plus, they have the lockdown just to really rub salt in the wound.
You should run.
All right.
You should indeed run over to the other side of the map, Sentinels. That's where everything's going to be taking place. They have lockdown too. Keep that in mind.
Absolutely, that lockdown.
30 seconds left.
At least for the guys of Sentinels, they know that this is a must-win round. Must-win ulti to pull up, but no way. No way. Shazam, the rare miss. And just like that, this round is more than ready to be taken by Immortals. 2 players remaining now for Sentinels, trying to make their way on site. Chemicals, he gets himself another, and not only that, but the knives get pulled out for the third. Immortals, they pull off the upset, and Icebox is theirs once again here in Challengers. They take the game over Sentinels, and my oh my, do I say it, they're 1-0 over the boys at Sentinels. Top 3 NA, yet another upset here in Challengers, but there's still more work to be done.
They took away the map pick of Sentinels, Mine. It's more than just a 1-0 lead for Immortals. The brand new squad is taking the territory of choice for Sentinels and maybe not teaching them how it's done, but definitely giving them a couple of pointers on how to play some of those thrifty rounds. That is a round I'm going to have to go back and look and find out how in the world the anatomy of that one worked through. Because they just got into kitchen, they got up on site without anybody being aware. And that's critical information, man. They lack the critical information, Sentinels. They go down 1-0 to Immortals of all teams here. They just continue to surprise. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, we may be vamping this up a little bit too much, but
but
it really is important because it's almost on the level. I'm not going to say exactly on the level, but it's still at a big upset level, just like the one that we saw earlier this tournament from Carpe Noctem taking down 100 Thieves. I mean, Who expected
Only that wasn't
this?
for seeding.
No, and that wasn't for seeding. That was an elimination game, and 100 Thieves was out. This time, Immortals for seeding is taking down Sentinels, but of course, map number 2 is really where things can heat up, and we can see Sentinels really get back on their grind. Because again, Icebox, is there really too much to take away from this map? Because there still is very much a counter picky nature to it. It's still very much a coin flip, so we don't exactly have a correct way to play this map just yet. It just so happens to be that some teams, they like this map, and we saw 2 specialists of it. So if anything, again, it was a coin flip at the end, and Immortals, they ended up getting the favorable of it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching Valorant Challengers, and if anything, map number 2 should be even better than the first, so you guys don't want to miss it. We'll be back in just a couple of moments.
What sound experience would you like today?
I'll have the fantasy pack.
Good choice. And could you make it a Cloud 2 wireless? On his way, sir.
Sounds amazing.
I feel like I need to defend my scene's honor here, because this is just turning into a bit of a dog battle.
Like in groups always look.
I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. Cutting you off. He said G2's winning it. He said G2's winning it.
We need to wait till the next EU tournament, which could be in about 10 years now.
Take it with like a grain of salt.
No,
but
that's
that
no
being
fun.
said,
Take it super literally.
Spike defused.